Cool. All right. Hey, what's up? Hello, Friday evening. Welcome to the Exploring Python with Codedex workshop. My name is Sunny. I'm a fresh new founder based in Brooklyn, New York. Super psyched to be here on this wonderful Friday evening. Thank you, Kanha, once again, and all the organizers for hosting. Extremely communicative over email, Discord, Instagram. So I'm here, and also we got Dharma calling in from India. Dharma is our founding engineer and also the newest addition to the team. So if you want to say hi, Dharma.
Hello, everyone. Nice to be here.
It's 5:30 over there, 5:30 a.m. over there. So lots of love to Dharma on my end. And we're super excited to get started. Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah. You might want to share.
Are we good? Cool. All right. So this is the flow of the talk. Let me go to the table of content real quick. This is the flow of the talk. We got an hour, so a ton of stuff packed in. Oops, I think I wrote the time wrong here, but 8 p.m. Eastern time where I am. So we're going to start off with a brief history of Python. Since we got a lot of new Python programmers here, I might even add in a brief history of programming. We're going to do Codedex, what we do and the why behind it. And then we're going to get into Hello World. We're going to run Python locally on your computer using VSCode. And then we're going to get into variables, going over data types, basic variables in Python, and some arithmetic operators. Okay. And here's the fun part. We also got a code challenge, a Twitter challenge for you, where you can win a Raspberry Pi 4. I got 3 questions ready to go for tonight. At the very end, there's also a Q&A session where you can ask me and Dharma about anything. Cool. And then before we get started real quick, let me just tell you, you do need 2 things for this session. You need a Twitter account, and you also need a VS Code downloaded. Okay, so if you don't have them, make sure to download it over the next 5 to 10 minutes. You'll have a little bit of time. I'm gonna send out the link in the chat just so you have it. Cool. All right, so we ready? Let's go. History of Python and a brief history of computing if people are down. So let's rewind to the very, very beginning. All right. This lady right here in this picture was the first computer. Okay, so I said that correctly. The first computer. Why did I say that? The word computer way back in the day was someone that makes calculation about dates. It wasn't the device, it was the person. Okay. And when Charles Babbage, this polymath way back in the day, 200 years ago maybe, wrote about a theoretical machine called the analytical engine. Okay. This is in 1837, almost 200 years ago. And Ada Lovelace, this lady right here, wrote some algorithms for this theoretical conceptual digital machine for about a year. So now Charles Babbage is now nicknamed the father of computing, the father of computer, and Ada Lovelace is now considered the first programmer or the first computer. Okay. So the language we're going to be using today and also on Codedex is Python. That's our first language that we're teaching people. And there are 3 reasons why we really like Python. One, it's super popular. It's actually considered the most popular #1 programming language in the world, according to this TIOBE index. If you want to check out the link. Number 2, it's super beginner friendly. Python's design philosophy, which I'm going to get a little bit into, focuses on code readability. It's easy to read. It's less verbose, which makes it a perfect language for code newbies. Okay. And number 3, it's super versatile. To me, it's actually the most versatile programming language out there. And the reason for that is actually not the general purpose language itself, but because of something called packages, libraries, modules that you can use on top of Python. Okay. So 3 fun facts about Python. Guido, the creator, Guido van Rossum, this creator, was looking for a hobby project to pass the time during the Christmas break in 1989. So it's what it's considered a happy accident. Another fun fact is that it's actually older than Java. A lot of people think Python's a little more fresh, more hip, but it's actually a little bit older. Fun fact number 3, it's named after the British TV show Monty Python. All right. Some a very macro timeline here. 1991 first appeared. 94, Python reached version 1.0. And you might have seen some of these functions like map function, filter function, reduce function in Python. There are methods in some other languages. Lambda right here too. You might have used them in other languages if you've been programming for a while. And that came about in 94, right? So almost 20 years ago. Wait, 30 years ago, right? 2000, 2.0 was released. 2008, 3.0 was released. In 2018, 4 years ago, Guido actually stepped down, right? Like 2 years before the pandemic, stepped down from the benefit dictator for life. And there's a whole organization around it. So there's no one single person that makes all the calls. Another quote by the creator: for someone who's not yet a programmer, who wants to become a programmer, Python is particularly easy to get. And this is said by the author of the language. That just shows how much thought him and the whole Python organization have thought about the syntax behind Python. Cool. Here are all different applications of Python. Make sure to take a screenshot of this if you want to take a step ahead. For data visualizations, data analysis, machine learning, all the data science stuff. Actually, maybe even these are considered data science, web scraping, and chatbots. I would probably start with here. You got the pandas library, NumPy, SciPy, very great packages to crunch data. If you've been working with Excel spreadsheets or SQL, these are great for large amounts of data. And what do you do with that data? After you clean it, after you analyze it, you can visualize it, right? Matplotlib, Seaborn, Plotly, all great packages for Python. We also got ML packages, scikit-learn, sklearn, TensorFlow, Keras, PyTorch. Super solid. It's actually what most people use Python for nowadays, with these 3. Web scraping, really fun thing to do. If you want to pull some data from Craigslist, pull some data from Amazon, Beautiful Soup, Selenium, maybe another one called Request. I forgot to add it in here. Chatbots, really fun to make a Twitter bot, a Discord bot, or just like a text bot with Twilio. So Chatterbot, NLTK, natural language processing. So let me just explain what natural language processing. So natural language is what we speak: English, Mandarin, Japanese, and then programming language is Python, C++, Java, and things like that. So natural language processing. NLTK, OpenAI, this is a really popular in the news last 5 years. Definitely check that out. Automation for operating system, OS, request for dealing with URLs. Web dev, I wouldn't say this is very common for Python, but it can definitely work. I've seen it done a few times in different companies, maybe like Dropbox. But Django and Flask are you either pick one of the two. But usually people still do HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or React. Game dev, there are a few libraries for that. Definitely not AAA games. AAA games usually go down C++, Unreal, or Unity, and C#. For Python, you can make maybe like 2D platform games. So Pygame is one. I think there's a few more that you can Google. FinTech, this is widely used, Python, for crunching data. So there are 2 right here: algorithm trading, FinMarket Pi. Cool. That just shows you how versatile Python is. So it's not because of the language, it's because of these libraries, packages. 3 key numbers here. Number of Python packages, we got 381,000. Okay, so we're almost at half a million Python packages, which is a ton. Okay. National average salary of a Python developer in the US. This is a little bit skewed because a lot of people use Python for data science, but I think it's still a very good number. 8.2 million Python developers in the world 2 years ago. Okay, so 3 great numbers. Before we dive into Python, I want to explain a little about Codedex. So Codedex, actually a little bit about myself. So I am a CS major. Went into college in 2009. During that time, I think a lot of people, computer science wasn't hot yet, right? It was like 20 students a class. Nowadays, like lecture halls at Berkeley or MIT are huge, right? It's almost like a stadium. But back in the day, everybody's sort of like pair programming because we didn't even have enough computers in the lab, right? So 3 people had to share one laptop, 2 people had to share one laptop, one desktop. But anyway, didn't do so hot in college. I thought the curriculum wasn't taught in a very um, updated, modern way, engaging way. Okay, so I had a hard time, didn't do so well. Came to New York to do grad school in machine learning and computer vision. Ended up dropping out. Okay, so the only reason why I did that was because my parents were both professors. So I thought that was like what I need to do. So I was sort of still living in my parents' uh, vision for me, right? So ended up teaching for a few years in New York, taught in the classrooms at Columbia, Lehman College up in Bronx. Did one recitation at NYU, and then took my students on a field trip to Codecademy office in 2017. Ended up working for them, Codecademy, for 5 years, and then recently left to build this thing. And the reason why I'm building this, Dharma asked me the reason why I picked this idea yesterday, and I think it's because there's many factors, but I think the big one is that after doing a tour in education, in higher ed, in the classroom, also in ed tech, I sort of noticed that higher education is broken. I think you might not know this since a lot of you are in high school, but a lot of you a little bit older will hear a lot about this, right? It's broken for decades, actually, for 20 plus years, right? But here's a kicker: edtech is broken as well, and it's because most edtech companies are venture-backed companies, meaning they take outside capital. So the number one priority will always be growth or revenue. All right. So the quality of education, how engaging, how awesome the content is, will never be number one. Will always be deprioritized, right? So I think that's a main issue for a lot of the ed tech companies today. So I was like, after doing this for 7 years, teaching code for 7-8 years, doing this even before learning, had a terrible time learning in college. I was like, what if we can build something new, something fun, something awesome? It's not about just like squeezing money from each user. Okay, so brand new Learn to Code platform from Jenny. That's the why I'm doing it. So our team we got a huge team right here. I'm just kidding. It's 3 people: me, Malcolm, one of my best friends from high school, and also Dharma, who's also here with us today. And me and Dharma will take on some Q&A at the very end. Cool. All right. Let's get started. For Hello World. By the way, this is the website, Codedex. We're going to get into the very first challenge, okay, right here. So make sure to download VS Code. I posted in the Google Meet chat. Make sure to download it. If you're not feeling like following, it's fine. You can just follow along on my screen as well. Cool. Let me pull this up. Whoops, not soon. VS Code. All right. So this is VS Code. It's free. A lot of you probably already use it for your hackathon. Hold on a second. Cool. First thing we're going to do, make sure you download it, and also make sure to download something called the Python extension in VS Code. Okay. So let me go in here. So extensions, type in Python, and you should find it. Okay. All right, so I'm going to create a new file. A Python file. Okay. So Python files are .py. Let's just save that real quick before we get started. Save. Let's save it in my desktop. Let's just call it frayhacks.py. GIFs are .gif. Images, .png, .jpeg. Movies, .mp4. Music, .mp3. Python.py. Okay, py. Cool. Let's just do the very first thing, which is print a message. Okay. Let me zoom in real quick. So in Python, to print something, to tell the computer to say something, we'll use something like this little instruction. Print, open parentheses, closing parentheses, and inside it, a message. And the message is surrounded by double quotes. Okay. Almost every single general purpose programming language have something like this. In JavaScript's console.log, Java, something really long, system.out.println or something like that. C++, it's like std.cout, right? Or : cout. So every language got something like this. Python, super simple, right? It almost looks like Ruby, almost looks like C, right? C or Ruby, right? Super basic, print, one word, which I like a lot. One thing you'll notice about Python is that it can do the same thing as some of the other languages, especially like compared to like C++ and Python and Java, and less amount of characters. Let's print this out real quick. I'm gonna zoom in, boom, boom, cool. Print, open parentheses, closing parentheses, automatic for VSCode. I'm gonna type in hello frayhacks. Exclamation mark, whatever you want. Let's do a wheat emoji. Cool. To run it, here, I'm gonna press this button right here. I'm pretty sure VS Code automatically saves, but let's see if it does. Boom, automatically saves. Very nice. Hello frayhacks. This is something called a terminal. Okay. If you haven't really touched this, how do I explain it? Terminal is what you think of when you see these hacking movies, right? The reason why it feels a little bit ancient, and it kind of is, right? It's a way to interact with your computer. Okay. Now we have something called a graphical user interface, right? There's a mouse, there's colors, right? It looks beautiful. But way back in the day, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, computers don't have those. Computers have something like this. A text-based command line where you can interact with it, tell it what to do, tell it to print something, tell it to calculate something. Okay, so terminal. Cool. Let me see if I have any questions in the chat before I continue. Okay, I think we're good. Ethan said OpenAI is also good for camera recognition. Cool. All right, one more thing. Every time you want to change this, you gotta go back into the code. Maybe let's do let's do the same thing for frayhacks. Howdy frayhacks. Oh. Howdy frayhacks. By the way, can y'all hear the background? Can y'all hear anything in the background? Nope. Okay. All right. Let's continue. Cool. Let's do another challenge. All right. Let's go back. Let's do a little brain teaser real quick. One thing to note is that Python, just like most programming languages, run line by line from top to bottom, right? First line, second line, third line, fourth line. So if we want to print something back to back, we can do something like this. Print howdy frayhacks, print hi. Save it, run it. Boom, howdy frayhacks, hi. Okay. So, close that window. It's the sidebar. It was annoying me for a little bit. So now a question. Suppose we want to output to look exactly like this pattern below. Suppose we want the terminal to look like this. How would we do that? So think about it for 10 seconds, and I'm going to code it. One, two, three, four, five, six, 7, 8, 9, 10 on different lines. Okay. All right, we got somebody in the chat said we can do it with a for loop, for sure. You can do it with a for loop. You can do it with a loop, for sure. You can also do it without a loop. Okay, and there's actually a few ways to do it without a loop. So let's try this out. To do something like this, you can actually do multiple different print functions. So let's do something like 1, 2, 3. Actually, just 4, 5, 6, something like that. Print 7, 8, 9, 10. Save it, run it. Almost there. Boom, boom, boom. Run it again. Cool. We got it. You can do this in one line, but definitely don't recommend it. Let's try this. We can do something using an escape sequence, right? I just want to show you this just to showcase that you can do with programming. You can do something with multiple ways all the time. Okay. So, and there is no really a right answer. I mean, there is, which is the fastest or the most efficient, but sometimes it doesn't matter. So let's see if this works. Save it, run it. Okay, so 2 is a little bit off. So let's do 1, 2, 3, run it again. Boom. Right, this is what's called escape sequence. Backward slash and it's something if you use if you're old as me and you use MySpace back in the day, you'll know all about these new line escape sequences. Cool. Good so far? Let's continue on to learn about variables. I'm still on Codedex. I'm going to get into variables. Okay. So in programming, variables are used to store data values. Okay. Each variable has a name, and also they hold a value. You don't really need to know this for HTML and CSS, but for JavaScript, same thing, right? Variable names consist of letters, numbers, underscore characters. So here are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm creating 6 different variables right here. The first variable is called name and has a value Sunny Lee, my name, in double quotes. This makes it a text string. Here we're creating another variable called ID, and we're giving it a number, a really long number. Create another value, another variable called completed with a value of number 5. Create a variable called XP with a number 70. Creating a variable called verified and giving a Boolean value of false. Boolean is just true or false. Okay. So equal signs in programming usually doesn't mean equal. It means assigning. We're assigning this value on the right into this variable. Okay. And the cool thing about variables is that after you give a variable a value, instead of printing out the text or the number, you can just print out the variable name, right? Here we're creating a variable called XP, given a value of 70. We're changing this variable XP and give it a new value of 80. Okay, so now when you print it, XP equals 80. Okay, so the output would look something like this. And I can try to just show you real quick what it looks like. So XP equals, let's do 110. Let's say we want to change it. XP equals 120. Actually, let's do this real quick. Print XP. Save. Print. It looks like 110. If we want to change it, run it, it's 120. And same thing, you can do XP equals 130. XP equals 140. Print it. What would it be? It'll be 140, right? Because right before we print this out, the variable XP out, the value is 140. Cool. So a few data types. We got an int, which by the way, Python, the cool thing about Python, if you might have noticed, is that it doesn't require, you don't have to be explicit about the variable type. Okay. So strongly typed language or, C++, Java, and those, Write JavaScript, you even have to write var, write let, like those keywords. In Python, you don't need to do that. Create a variable called year, give it a number. And Python will know, okay, year is a number. If we do year equals double quotes or single quotes, 2023, Python will be like, okay, this is the interpreter will be like, okay, this is a text string instead of a number. Okay, so integer, int. So 0, 1, 2, 3, -1, -2, int, integers. We got float, decimal numbers. Okay, so pi equals 3.14159. Meal underscore cost is the variable name, 12.99. Okay, and there's something called strings, right? The first few printouts that we did were all strings. Double quotes or single quotes both work for Python. All right, let's learn one more thing, which are arithmetic operators. Okay, let's go into temperature. Cool. Arithmetic operator, similar to regular math that you might have seen. We got a few different ones: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, something called modulo, which returns the remainder. So this is a symbol for adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. Okay, we don't have to know about this right now. Okay, so let's just try this real quick. Let's create a new variable called score, give it a value of, actually, let's do this. Let's do a meal, oysters. Oysters, whoops, oysters. Let's do a float number, a decimal number. Let's do 99 cents for one oyster. Okay. And then this is actually what I ate this morning. I got eggs Benedict. Oh, it's a little fancy for brunch. I think it was $9.99. Okay. So I think I got the total will be equal to, I think I got 4 oysters or 6 oysters. Let's do 4. I think I did 4. 4 oysters. 4 times oysters, which is 0.99, plus eggs Benedict. I'm going to just copy and paste here. I want to print what the total is. Okay. So the total is $13.95. All right. But there's something called tips, right? So let's just do tips equal to total times 0.2. And instead of printing out total, I can do print total plus tip. Save it, run it, and the total now, including tips, is $16.74. Of course, you can do this multiple different ways. You could do something like this if you want to be. Cost total equal to cost plus tips. And then instead of printing out this calculation, you can just do total. Okay. Let's put this here. So 4 times oysters plus eggs Benedict is the cost of the meal. The meal, the tips, I mean, is the cost, the 20% of cost. And the total is cost plus tips. Okay, print total. Cool. All right. All right. One more thing I think you need to know, which is the order of operations. Yeah, same thing in regular math. You can do something like this if you want, and they'll change with opening parentheses and closing parentheses. It will change the operation. It will actually do this calculation first instead of the multiply and divide first. Okay. All right. Any questions so far? Kanhan, let me know. Dharma, let me know if there are any questions in the chat. But I think we can continue on if there are any. No, if there are not any questions. Oh, that's right. Data types, int, float, string, booleans. I think we cover that. Cool. let's get into the Twitter challenge. All right, here's the fun part. I got 3 challenges for you. All right, for Frey hacks specifically. Let's move in here. Let's move this here, the Twitter chat. All right, everybody. I got 3. Wait, can y'all still see the screen? I don't see the Google Hangout anymore. That's a little weird. Cool. Where's my Google Hangout? Wait a second. All right. I got 3 challenges for everybody. Frey hacks challenge, and it's going to be a meme, a brain teaser, and a code challenge. All right. And we're going to have 3 winners for each of these challenges. Everybody's going to get a Raspberry Pi. Well, the winner is going to get a Raspberry Pi. So make sure to have Mariko said hi in the slides. Nice. So I'm going to type this out. Go to the Codedex Twitter right now, which is twitter.com/Codedex. All right. Actually, /Codedex_IO. Listen out in the chat. Cool. First question is a meme question. All right, y'all ready for this? Let's do this. Frey hacks challenge 1 out of 3, a meme. And the meme is this. There are 2 types of coders. 1, 2. And let's do this. Got to fill in the blank. Respond in this chat. Respond in this thread. Let's do Dharma decides the funniest. Cool. Any typos? Frey hacks challenge 1 out of 3 meme. There are 2 types of coders. 1. Whoop. Boom. Delete. Oh, let's do it. There are 2 types of coders. 1, 2. Dharma is going to be a judge for this one. Decides the funniest. So we're going to give this, for this challenge, I'm going to run it, let you think on it for 30 seconds. But for this one specifically, you can submit before noon tomorrow. Before noon Eastern time tomorrow. How about that? So around then, we're going to decide the winner. Well, Dharma is going to decide the winner. So I'm going to copy link. Let's go inside the Google chat. I'm going to send out the link to right here. Oh, that's the very first challenge. I think it's a pretty fun one. All right, so by tomorrow, middle of the day, make sure to submit. Let's move on to the second one. All right. Tweet. Cool. So the second one took me a minute to think about. All right. And I wanted this to revolve around Frey hacks. So Frey, when I Googled it, is a Norse god of fertility, crops, peace, and prosperity. Okay. Now notice on Frey hacks logo on the homepage and also on the Instagram, it's full of wheat. Okay. So the next challenge, we're gonna do it right now. Actually, no, this one even let's do it till noon tomorrow. Frey hacks challenge 2 out of 3 brain teaser. I'm gonna type this out. Bread is made with wheat. Okay. Now try reverse this and go from bread to wheat by changing just 1 letter the word each step. Okay. So what do I mean by this? Suppose let's give another example. Okay. Suppose we want to go from code to pike. You can do something like this. Code, change 1 letter. This is 1 step. Coke, which is a real word. Poke, right? Only change 1 letter here to pike. Okay. Cool. Let's just do this, and let's just do try reverse. Wait, why is there try to reverse this and go from bread to wheat by changing just 1 letter word each step? All right, tweet, boom, we good. I'm going to just respond to this real quick and just give it this example right here. For example, from code to Pike, you do code, Pike. Try to do this in the winner. How should we determine the winner? The winner. Try to do this in the least amount of. Try to do this in the least amount of steps. From bread to wheat. Okay, the winner can do this in the least amount of steps. You know, it could be 5 steps, 7 steps, 10 steps, 12 steps, whatever it is. Okay, from bread to wheat. Tweet. We good? All right. Y'all ready for the third one? For this one, also due at noon tomorrow Eastern time. But if there are 2 people that submitted the same right answer, then the person that submitted first gets the Raspberry Pi. I think that's a good that's a good tiebreaker. Okay, so suppose somebody turns it in. Let's do it in 10 steps. Another person do it tomorrow in 10 steps. The winner goes to the one that gets it done tonight. All right, cool. Let's do a new one. Code challenge number 3. Free hacks number 3. So go to challenge number 10 on Codedex. Codedex. Okay, let me check that. Okay. And follow the instructions. Follow the instructions. It looks like this. Let me just go to this real quick. Right. Number 10, currency. All right. So you don't have to really worry about this part. Congrats. Let's start looking at it here. Instructions. Here's the final project of the chapter. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Read through this. I'm going to return to this in a bit. Follow the instructions and do the bonus section. Make sure to include a screenshot of your code and output. Code plus output. And use the hashtag Codedex currency. Let's see if there's any typos. Free hacks challenge 3 out of 3 code challenge. Go to challenge number 10 on Codedex. Cool. Follow the instructions and do the bonus section. Make sure to include the screenshot of your code plus output and use the hashtag Codedex currency. Cool. So all the other ones, make sure to reply in the thread. This one, please try to reply in the thread. If not, it's okay too. Boom. We got 3 challenges. All right. Let me just talk about currency real quick. So in this prompt, in this challenge, we're asking learners to create, we're asking users to create a program that calculates currency. Suppose somebody just got back from a trip in Asia, China, Japan, South Korea, Chinese yuan, Japanese yen, South Korean won. And it will look something like this. What do you have left in yuan? 250. What do you have left in yen? 1,889 yen. What are you left in won? And then boom, it calculates out a new number, the total. Okay. So make sure to do this problem, except instead of doing this problem, you have to pivot a little bit and change this into a calculation of a different type. It could be a crypto exchange, it could be a measurement conversion, different countries, etc. But the person that does it in a very creative way and very neat code will be the winner. Okay. And remember, if there are 2 tiebreakers, the winner is the person that does it first. Okay. We good? One thing I didn't talk about, just suddenly realized, and you can check it out, the Codedex itself, but something called user input. Okay. So suppose we want to get a user input. Right now, we've just been just telling the computer to print out something. So let's say we want to ask the user what the cost is. We can do something like this. Input, something called input function. What is the cost? Question mark. There's actually a problem with this, but I'm just going to run it to show you what it does. If you run it, it says, what is the cost of the meal? And the user, right? As a programmer, you almost got to play two roles. One is the role of a programmer, and one is when you're testing out the program, you're playing the role of the user. So as a user, you can type in, okay, my meal this morning was, I think it was like $21. Whoops, there's a type error. That's because the default, let me just go back to this real quick. I think I talked about it in quadratic, right? Let's see. Yep. And that is because by default, the user input is stored as a text string. Okay. So because we want a number, especially a decimal number, we want to wrap this with this typecasting function called float. Okay, so let's try this one more time. I want to add a cost of the meal, and I want to add a space right here. So I'm going to run it again. What is the cost of the meal? I'm going to type in. I think this morning I should have saved the receipt, but it was not too expensive. It was like $18 or something like that. So let's say 18.54 or 53. Hit enter. Boom. It says the cost of the meal, including tips, is $19.84. Okay. So this takes in the value from the user and store it into the variable cost. But before we do that, we're also sort of converting that text string, right? Before it's almost like, here, I'm going to do a comment here. Before it's storing, when I typed in 16.53, by default, the input function takes in a text string. So whatever I typed in becomes a text string, right? You can't really do a text string with a double quotes multiplied by a number, right? So we want to turn this text string with double quotes, with quotes, into just a number itself, a float number, a decimal number. So that's what this does. If this is a little bit confusing, let me know. I can stay around. Or you can check out Codedex Challenge 09. We good? Cool. And then let me talk about two things real quick before we do the Q&A. So thank you everybody for watching this. We have two paid offerings for Codedex. One, we have Codedex Club for $10 a month, which is a very intimate paid community, very small community, with weekly events, office hours to chat about you specifically. We can help you with your resume. We can help you with your portfolio. You can get on a chat with our team about interview prepping, about college, whatever. Okay. You also get code help. So if you need any help debugging on your code for this hackathon or down the road, or hopefully with Codedex content, you can ask in our chat, in our Slack group. Okay. But check this out. A lot of you might be starting to learn to code in your year 0, year 1, year 2, and you're stuck in this, what we call the tutorial hell, right? And to do this, we actually have a July cohort, okay, which is $200, and we take you from 0 to 1 with Python, okay, in 2 weeks, July 11th to July 22nd, 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern time. Okay, you're going to be in a small group of people. There are going to be daily classes with me if you enjoyed today's session. And you're going to come out with 24 different programs. You also get one-on-one chat with me if you need any additional help. All right, but check this out. For free hacks, we have a 50% promo code, and it's free. All right, so instead of $200, it's $99. Very nice. So I'm posting in the Discord after this. Make sure to sign up. There's a limited amount of seats for this. This is going to be our first cohort. So to be honest, this is a very insane value compared to boot camps, compared to other workshops. And I don't know. I think it's 10 times what it's actually worth. But I think for y'all, because we're starting this out, I think it's right to do this for y'all. Cool. So many thanks to everybody here who are watching on streams, also in the Google Hangout, Google Meet. If you have any questions, send us an email at team@codedex.io. Okay. You can also check out our website, www.codedex.io. Make sure to follow us on all these different channels that we have. And hopefully, in the Discord channel, in the Discord chat, or in emails, let us know what you think about the product. What do you think about our content? What do you think about our posts? And that's all. Q&A time. We got 7 minutes left, so let's do another 10 minutes. Feel free to let us know in the chat, or you can unmute yourself if you want to, and ask me and also Dharma here anything about Codedex, about tech, about college, career, high school, GPA, whatever. So this is your time.
So we have a question in the Q&A chat. I'm just going to read it out to you, Sunny.
Cool.
So the question is from Shubhankar, and he says, can you show a demo of how to submit the answer for challenge this week?
Cool. Yeah, I should. I'm gonna screenshot and post in the tweet. Let's just do this real quick. Great question, by the way. So in the challenge currency, we press start. There's 2 ways to submit. We're going to look at both. So one is you can just submit by clicking this button, and you have to submit with a screenshot of your code and the output. Okay, so you can include an image right here. Another way is just reply in the thread and do the same thing. So reply this thread. Let's see if anybody done it already. Nope, I don't think so. But basically, hit reply, send a screenshot of your code and the terminal. Ooh, in the chat, can we? A new question was posted in Q&A. Can we use? Wait, how do I get to see the Q&A section here? Let's see. Q&A. All right. Oh, okay. Can we link a replit or something? Yes, you can definitely link a replit if you prefer. Great question, Jason. But we need to see the code and also the output. All right, let's go back to the questions. Feel free to ask about anything. Okay. Sorry, can you repeat that? Oh, what a Raspberry Pi is? Yeah, so Raspberry Pi is, you can think of it as a mini computer, a tiny little computer, a very cheap computer. Yeah, actually, let me just, if you know the basics of Python, Raspberry Pi is such a fun project. It's a relatively affordable. It looks like this. It looks like a computer chip, right? But it's actually a mini computer because it has inputs and outputs. So fun projects you can build with Raspberry Pi. And there are a few of these sort of like hardware projects you can do. Raspberry Pi, Python. There's Arduino, which is kind of like C++. There's something called Circuit Playground, right? Which is, I think, uses something called Circuit Python, which is a variation of Python. But projects you can build with this is like an automation tool to see whether your plant has enough water or enough sunlight. You can build a reminder tool, alarm clock, right? You can automate it. You can detect temperature in the room if you add, right? You can attach sensors to this. You can, if you want to go really fancy, you can use something called a breadboard, which is like sort of mechanical engineering 101 stuff. Excuse me. Oh, whoa. I don't think I've seen this before. So there's even a cheaper one at $15. It's called Raspberry Pi 02W. But yeah, I think down the road, we'll love to have some Raspberry Pi projects on Codedex. And maybe even partner with them to see if we can write some cool projects. But yeah, it's like if you know the basics of Python, hardware is super fun because you can build something for you, for your friends, your family, right? And because it's physical, it takes inputs from the physical world. It can and output things. It's so it becomes a very interactive, real project, which makes it super cool. Can we get a job on Codedex? So I talked with Dom. We actually talk in the team. I think yesterday, right, Dharma, about internships. So right now we're actually not taking interns, or we got so Codedex actually just started a month ago. So this is just a prototype of what we have, but we got a lot of things to tackle the next few months. So I don't think we have the time to take on interns right now. But when spring comes, feel free to email us. You have our email now, and hopefully we'll have more work to do then. Let's take one more question, one last question. Anybody? Kanha or Gary? Actually, the next one. Sorry, I should let Dharma answer.
I see a question in the Q&A. I'm not sure what it means.
Okay.
It's posted by Jason. Jason.
Okay.
It says that anyone recommend looking into joining a bootcamp-friendly company that supports entry-level career transitioners, asking for a friend. So, Jason, can you try and explain your question a little bit more, because I'm not sure I get it. Right.
Anyone recommended?
Also, you're looking for suggestions to join a bootcamp-friendly company for your career. Right. So, off the top of my head, I'm not able to think of a company that would be open to hiring bootcamp graduates, but maybe you can Google up something, look for companies, and like after COVID, it has become much easier for people to get hired, especially bootcamp graduates. So you might want to look up on Google and look for jobs.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback on that. I think, like Dharma said, this is a great time. I know the market. I know the economy is not doing so hot, at least in the U.S. I still think it's a great time to look for jobs. We actually want to sort of write Dharma. We should write a blog post on like the things that you need when you're applying for entry level job, especially from a bootcamp. Because I know a lot of people from bootcamp graduates that like colleagues or old colleagues that I worked with. And actually, I'll say nowadays, half of the developers are bootcamp grads or self-taught, right? Like a lot of them are not CS graduates. But you need to hit, certain things. I'm sure, your bootcamps might talk about this, but there are a few things that need to hit. One is make sure you have a great portfolio, okay? I know, you're like, it's like a chicken egg problem. Like, I need time to work on my portfolio, but I don't have the time, right? Or I need to be a really strong portfolio to get into the company, but I need the experience and the company to actually get better at coding to make a better portfolio project. Right? It's sort of like a chicken egg problem. This sort of like paradox. But I would say if you can find any time, make sure to have a really strong portfolio. I think for Codedex, when we look for new hires down the road, I actually won't really care if you graduate from high school or if you graduate from college. I don't care about your grades. But what I want to see is you have a really strong, you've built, 2 or 3 really cool, really strong, let's say we were looking for a web developer, really strong websites, right? I think your GitHub really matters. Like look at Dharma's GitHub. Dharma coded almost every single day. You don't have to be as crazy as Dharma, but like that definitely there's definitely a breadcrumb, a trail of a record of you coding in the last few years. So that's why I recommend even high schoolers or college students or CS majors. I don't care if it's your CS assignment. I don't care if it's a quiz. I don't care if it's a tiny little calculator GUI GUI app that you built for project 1 in your CS 101 class, save it, right? Because it leaves a track record. Save it on GitHub, so it leaves a track record. Another thing I think that's also great is a network, right? There's a quote that I really like. It's like you should build a network before you use a network, right? Whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on Dev2, whether it's on Codedex Club, right? Building a network of people who can support you on LinkedIn. Like I've hired so many people. I was a hiring manager at Codecamp for a few years. I hired so many people with a Twitter post, right? Some of my best hires that I made at Codecamp, I hired off a tweet. And some of them are, some of my friends now. So yeah, best of luck, Jason. Let's connect on LinkedIn. Let me know if you have any questions. But yeah, we like questions like this is actually perfect because when we try to build out something on Codedex, especially for Codedex Club, that's exactly what we're building. We want to build a community of coders who are career switchers, career upskillers, high schoolers, middle schoolers, college students, the sort of underdogs, right? And we want to build a community around that and hopefully empower the next generation of coders, next generation of builders, next generation of leaders, dreamers. For as cheap as possible that we can go. Because to be honest, boot camps is just too pricey for high schoolers, for college students. Oh wow, we got a lot of some shit. Dharma, you got a lot to look at.
Yeah.
I'll look at number 2 and number 3, but make sure to pick a funny one. Well, yeah, for number 1. Cool.
Really excited to look at the answers.
Somebody said the all-nighters at the 2 hour. Oh, hey, is this Alex from? I think this is Alex from the last hackathon. Yeah, make sure to follow us, by the way, on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. We're trying to build a really and give us feedback too. We're trying to build a brand that's like, because we think like some of this content that you see online is kind of stale. It doesn't feel like it's cool, but it's like, what's the next level? Cool. Any other questions? Oh, Jason, cool. Yeah, I'm reading your comments now. Very nice. The sub flagged in my browser. Nice. Cool. Appreciate it, Jason. Yeah, no, the boot camps are still great, but in our world, it's like, how can we build something boot camp wise, maybe in a short amount of time? Because most boot camps are still venture backed companies, right? So they're still trying to squeeze, right? I'm not crapping on boot camps. It's just our attempt here for Codedex, like, can we build something newer, somewhere between free Codecamp and the Code Academies and the data camps and the General Assemblies, the Full Stack Academy. I don't know which one you went to, Hack Reactor, Flatiron, right? One of those, right? I assume. But how do we build something in between YouTube and free Codecamp and those companies? And can we do something absolutely exceptional? Because we think the content from these companies is still, it's started to peak a little bit, right? It started to become about quantities for them rather than quality, right? How do we make each individual piece of blog posts and tutorials like just insanely solid back, over and over again? Cool. Nice. Flatiron. No, great school. So, solid. All right. Kanha, are we good? No more questions? Are we good? Cool. Cool. Thank you so much, Kanha. Peace, everybody. Have a great weekend. Peace, Dharma.